There are about, I forget how many millions of people in Texas, some other states, that have zero electricity. You know, Yesterday, probably say this again, we lost our electricity at our house. Well, it's kind of an odd situation. But I was able to get a few circuits working, so I ran a bunch of extension cords. And but if you don't have electricity, a fan won't work. So you're sitting there in whatever heat there is, no fans, no air conditioning, and that's where these people are right now in Texas and other places. Cheyenne, when you guys go camping, you have no electricity, right? No electricity. Of course, at night, you might get a cool breeze at night, right? And during the day, does it get pretty warm? Pretty hot. Do you have a body of water nearby where you can get in? That's what I told Lana. I said, these people in Texas, no fans, no electricity, they're looking for a body of water somewhere to get into. Because if you don't have that, you're miserable. I want to welcome everybody to Yeshua Sabbath Church. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you'll be blessed today. It's a great Torah portion that we'll be teaching from. So everybody give me a big Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Devarim. Do y'all know what that word means, Devarim? Raise your hand if you do. I didn't. I had to look it up. It means words. Words. They're the last words of Moses. And then God tells him in the Torah portion, you're going to die. Go up to Mount Nebo. I'll show you where you're going to die. I'll let you look at the promised land, but you can't go with Joshua and the others. So this is his, Devarim is Moses' farewell speech to the people. He's been guiding them since the parting of the Red Sea, 40 years. He's been guiding them, helping them, and if anybody had problems there, in the talking about 5-6 million people. Of course, he had people to help him, but they took them to Moses. The big problems they would take to Moses. So Moses has been a judge. He's been a pastor. He's all fivefold ministry. He's a pastor, evangelist, prophet, teacher. He's all of that. And he helps the people. So if they had a problem, they would go to Moses for that. And so he's like, I don't know if that's the right word, godfather to them. He's the main guy to them. And now he tells the people he's going to die and he's going away, and these are his last words. So how important do you think his last words are? They're very important. And we'll get into the Torah portion today and talk about what he said and why he said it, and it'll be good. So the final words of Moses. This Torah portion, the final words of Moses, happens today right before the 9th of Av. Do you get the connection? There's a connection to the 9th of Av when God judges his people, judges the temple. And in the past, God destroyed Solomon's temple by the Babylonians, 586. And he destroyed Herod's temple, the one Yeshua went to, in 70 A.D. And he's about to destroy the people temples where the temples are today because they're not doing the Torah. They say they're doing the Torah, but they're not doing the Torah. Same thing happened in 586. Same thing that happened in 7 A.D. They all said, yes, we love God, we follow God, but they weren't following God. They weren't doing what he did, and they were destroyed. Today is called the Black Sabbath. There's also a white Sabbath. There's 4 or 5 special Sabbaths that Jewish people honor or pay attention to. One of them was the Black Sabbath. One was the White Sabbath. One is the Sabbath before Passover, One's the Sabbath before Yom Kippur. That's the white Sabbath, okay? But today is a black Sabbath, and it happens right before the 9th of Av when God judges his temples. So I'm going to shout it out loud today that God is about to burn America. I got a confirmation of what's in my note right here when I walked in this morning. I got it all week. The Lord says, is what you say reality or conjecture? That's what he's been teaching me all week. Is what you say, Larry, on Sabbath reality or is it conjecture? And I've been dealing with that all week because I don't want to deal in conjecture. And I even told the Lord, I'm tired of conjecture. I don't want to deal in conjecture. I want to deal in reality. And so I'm saying that the Lord is going to burn America. Okay? Now you say, why would the Lord burn America? Well, you all know the reasons. We're killing babies. And that's just one reason he's going to burn America. But in Isaiah 58, it says, shout it loud. Don't be quiet. Yell like a trumpet. Tell the people their sin. And I say, the sin I've seen in 10 years of being a pastor is failing to assemble on the Sabbath. That's the sin I see. Now, if you're sick like a dog and it's life and death thing, sure, I can understand not being here. You say, well, I do it at home. No, that's not keeping the Sabbath, doing it at home. It's not keeping the Sabbath, okay? You have to assemble in a public forum and praise God in a public forum. That's the definition of convocation. Okay, so I'm saying there are zero excuses, no excuses for missing the Sabbath. And so I should have missed the Sabbath today probably because last night about an hour before sunset, we lose all electricity at our house. No electricity. I can't print out the handouts today. I can't finish my keynote presentation. There are lots of things I couldn't do. Plus, we're running around the place with flashlights once it got dark, right? It's hard to take a shower in the dark. Is anybody good at taking showers? I like to have a little light on in there, don't y'all? So I could have had an excuse for missing today. It's called an ox in a ditch where if I hadn't run an extension cord to the water pump to my little pond that has my fish in it, it would have died. If I hadn't got my oxygen running, my CPAP machine running, maybe I could have had a problem. You know, there are just certain things I had to do with these extension cords. And of course, I asked the Lord to forgive me for working past sunset. Now, you need to understand the definition. We read it every week called Isaiah 58. Do not work on the Sabbath. So here I am doing things past sunsets on the Sabbath. So I'm talking to the Lord about it, and I'm saying, Lord, I'm not doing ordinary work. It's called ordinary work. Work that you do to make a living, that you buy and sell to earn a living. That's called ordinary work. If your ox falls in a ditch and it could die, you go work. You go do some work. You might do some digging. You might have to sweat. Might be several things you might have to do to get that ox out. But in modern times today, losing your electricity could be an ox in the ditch, I think. You know, things are not good, okay? So I talked to the Lord about that, and he reminded me of the verse, Isaiah 58, ordinary work. What I was doing is not something I do 6 days a week. Does that make sense to anybody? What I was working past sunset to get things back up and running, but I wasn't doing things I normally do 6 days a week. That's called ordinary work. So I thought I'll just share that real quick with you. So Shabbat Shazon, the Black Sabbath, that's today. It's the first major vision by Isaiah since Samuel. So we're talking about 300-400 years. No one's heard something directly from God, and here Isaiah is hearing this. Okay, and that's our Torah portion today, what Isaiah says about the destruction of the temples. And so in Isaiah 1, today when we get to it, it's a final Torah portion about destruction. See, for the next 9 weeks or so, we're going to be reading from Isaiah. The first 3 are called the Haftarah of affliction, meaning destruction. Today's the last one, right before the 9th of Av. So destruction of America could happen this year. I think it probably will, but I could be wrong. It could be next year, or I think it could be any time between now and 2033. And that's a deep subject, why I picked 2033. But then after today are 8 Torah portions, haftarahs, of restoration, building the church back up, building us back up. So today's the last one of destruction. That's what we'll be talking about today. I also want to mention this book. I made a copy of the cover, and I put it on the bulletin board. There's some real interesting things about tongues in this book. I got some real interesting notes I'll share with you in a little bit. So if you don't have a generator is nice because you put a little gas in it, you crank it up, get it going, then you can run an extension cord and your computer will work, your fan will work, whatever you plug into it will work for a few hours. So if you don't have one, make sure you know somebody with one, okay? Because if what I'm saying is about to happen, and I know it's going to happen, I just don't know what year, but I think this year. And if this is the Black Sabbath before God's people are judged, fires, America being burned with fire, and all you got to do is read the prophecies by George Washington, by Deuteron, by David Wilkerson. These are mainly Pentecostal type preachers. Go read A. Allen, Vision of America in 1954. In 1954, on the 4th of July, he had a vision of America being burned. And he says, what the Lord said to me was, he saw the Lord. He said, he says he was on the Empire State Building, and it was his turn to go to the telescope. He put in his dime to look out on the Statue of Liberty, and when he looked through the telescope, he saw the Pacific coast, the Atlantic Ocean, and the Gulf of Mexico through the telescope. And he saw the Statue of Liberty in the Gulf of Mexico, not off of Long Island. Okay? And he says he was caught up in a trance, in a vision, 1954. And we've been talking about face-to-face events. He was a Pentecostal type preacher, and I truly believe he had a face-to-face event. And he wasn't drunk at the time, okay? If you read anything about A. Allen, he has some issues with his wife, and so he liked to drink. He liked to drink. But when he was doing church work, he was a man of God, but maybe not 7 days a week, okay? You know what I mean? That's why it's good if you have a spouse or a friend that supports you in life. That's a blessing to have someone to support you in life. That was special, lad. I was sitting back there. When I come here, my mind's racing about this and that, all the things I have a church service, give my best to the Lord. And she started pulling her chair over toward me, and that makes me shake during church because I got so much on my mind. But she said, the Lord told me to pray for you. Isn't that sweet? I'm so blessed. She's such a blessing to me. So thank you, Lana, for praying for me. So, yeah, A. Allen, if that was a vision, 1954. And he says, the word he got from the Lord was, my eyes go to and forth over all the earth to find a people who love me. And that's from, I wrote it down last week where that's from, 2 Chronicles, and it's all about 70 years. Israel's fighting Judah. Israel, you know the wars in the Old Testament. Judah will go to battle with Israel, the northern kingdom. Then the northern kingdom will go to battle with the southern kingdom. We're two kingdoms today, and I say we're still doing it. The northern kingdom is fighting Judah. Judah's fighting the northern kingdom. That's happening today in our news. And I showed you a little clip last week where it showed the kites and the machine guns. I showed you the clip. That's a good representation of Israel fighting Judah, okay? Who was behind? We think Hamas. It's hard to know the truth. And that vision A.A. had was all about 70 years. 70 years from that vision he had on July 4th, 1954, when he was caught up in that vision, was July 4th this year. This year. Okay. Does that mean anything? I don't know. I think it does. Lord's got our back. Lord's going to protect us if you do his teaching and instruction. And I say if you assemble on Sabbath. That is the fourth command. The fourth commandment, I pick on it a lot because it's the easiest one to forget to do. That's the easiest one to forget. So anybody else got something from the Lord during worship? We'll talk about during the week here in just a second. Got something back there? Okay.
The word I heard was stony heart. And I heard the Lord say, pray against the stony heart and call forth a mushy heart. A mushy heart. Instead of a heart of stone.
Pray against what kind of heart?
A stony heart. Remember? In
stony heart?
Stony heart.
Stony heart.
Pray against a stony heart and ask for a mushy heart. Mushy.
Monkey?
Mushy, where it's soft. A
mushy.
Soft heart.
Mushy heart.
A soft heart.
Okay.
Take the stony heart out of us and bring the soft heart. The soft hearts toward the Lord.
Kind of like being hot or being cold in Revelation. Devarim, the final words of Moses. Okay, we're talking about his farewell speech because he's been with them for 40 years, from parting of the Red Sea, holding up his staff, and now they're getting ready to cross the Promised Land. So look at what's happening in this Torah portion today. The people of God are about to enter the Promised Land. Okay? The first time they came there, they got an evil report where the spies said, we can't conquer it. So they had to die in the wilderness. But this group gets to go over. The second time they get to go over. Now, God cleaned up the bunch at Baal Peor. He killed about several million, a lot of people, thousands of people. So he cleaned up the bunch, and then they're able to cross the Jordan. So this whole Devarim, Deuteronomy, is all about entering the Promised Land and doing what God says. And this group about to cross over now, because they've been cleansed at Baal Peor, they're doing the Torah the way they're supposed to, okay? But it's also, in this Torah portion, it says, Deuteronomy 1:1, it says, these are the words of rebuke. Why is it rebuke? He knows they're going to stop doing the Torah. He saw it for 40 years. He knows the people are going to stop keeping Sabbath. They're going to stop. They're going to go against the covenant. He knows they are. And he says of rebuke. Moses has been told that he is soon to die and not cross over. It is his farewell speech in the 40th year of the journey. These 34 chapters of Deuteronomy are important words. Yahweh's telling us today, it says the second time, he's telling the covenant the second time to this group getting ready to cross over, these words, and he says, these words speak to every generation of God's people. That's from back then, when they crossed over, to today. They're true for us today. So out of Deuteronomy, what Moses is speaking is true for us today. We are to, this is God's word. This is his teaching and instruction. And this is what we are to obey. So, have there been times when I haven't obeyed? Sure. There was one time in my life when I was so far from God, I didn't even know who he was. But then gradually, the Lord has taught me who he is. And these 34 chapters of Deuteronomy is who God is. He's telling us who he is. And he's saying, just obey, and you can enter the promised land. And I'm talking about the one about to be set up here in a few years. It says Moses rebuked him only a short time before his death. It's a rebuke for not doing the Torah. He says, you've already defeated giants. Yahweh says, I have set before you the promised land. Now take possession of it. And I'm saying it's also the future promised land. So we're talking about the people that are going to inherit this 1,000-year kingdom age. And we're about 20 years away from it, very close. The ones who did not keep Torah have all died. So what's that say about people we know today? If they're not keeping the Torah, not even keeping the Sabbath, they're going to die. It says the ones who did not keep the Torah have all died. Okay? Deuteronomy 1, verse 13. Prepare for yourselves wise men in Torah. They will be your teachers and your judges. Do not show favoritism between men. If any matter is too difficult, take it to Moses, the leader. Verse 27, Moses says, you murmured in your tent saying, Yahweh hates us. Moses calls that slander. God calls it slander. When this happened yesterday with my losing the electricity, I was praising the Lord. Because I know it didn't happen it happened for a reason. I'm to learn from it. Because God wants to give me something better. Maybe it's a better electrical panel. Maybe they made some mistakes when they installed it a few years ago. I don't know. But there's a reason that thing's tripped there, you know. When bad things happen, I look at it as a learning experience, teaching experience. Lord, what's up? What are you up to today? Because I know it's for my good. I know it's for my good. Okay. Verse 30 says, Yahweh has said that he will fight your battle. God's going to fight this battle with this electrical problem. He's going to do it. This note there on page 2, it says, the giant Og, how big was his bed? How long was his bed? Do y'all know? How wide was his bed? This is giant. If you do any internet browsing at all, you'll see these giants on internet every now and then. You know, his bed, 15 feet long. I don't know how long that is. That's pretty long. That's probably almost 3 rows of tables here. And it was 6 feet wide. That's the width of that round table back there. That's 6 feet wide. That's how big his bed was. Now we get into the Haftarah. This vision in the Haftarah called of Isaiah on Shabbat Shazon is a vision of destruction and restoration of Israel. That's the United States and Israel. This is the third parsha of affliction. It's read during the 21 days from Tammuz 17 to Av 9. Today is called the Black Sabbath. So I'll raise that again. Today is called the Black Sabbath. So, yeah. It's a Jewish thing. They have special names for about 4 or 5 Sabbaths. There's also a white Sabbath, but this one today is called the Black Sabbath. So God's temple was destroyed in the past because of apostasia. That's a Greek word. Who in here knows what the word apostasia means? Okay, that's a Greek word. It means a falling away from covenant, not doing the Torah, falling away. Okay, and I'll get. It's used twice in our Bible. This is on page 3, Acts 21:21, and 2 Thessalonians 2:3. So make sure you get the handout and go read those two verses about apostasia. Okay. So this vision in Isaiah 1:1, where Isaiah sees the future destruction of Jerusalem in 586, when Nebuchadnezzar came in. He also sees the destruction of Samaria in 721. He sees that because he's living during that time in 721. But he sees the future one in Jerusalem in 586. But then he also sees the destruction during Jacob's trouble in the last days, way in the future. So if you go to bottom page 3, page 4, you see the 5 special Sabbaths. They're Jewish special Sabbaths, and they have reasons why they're special Sabbaths, and I believe they carry a lot of merit, a whole lot of merit, especially the White Sabbath I'll talk to you a little bit later during the fall feast. So Isaiah's vision is similar to Abraham's vision. Do y'all remember Abraham's vision? He takes the animal, splits it in half. I think I said a dark cloud kind of descended over the split halves, and he falls into a trance or a vision. And what Abraham saw was possibly the murder of Yeshua in 31 AD, but he may also have seen the destruction of God's people in the last days, which is a worldwide event. What's coming, if it comes on the 9th of Av this year, is a worldwide event. It's not just in Jerusalem. It will be. Not just in New Orleans somewhere. It's worldwide event, okay? That's why they call it World War III. Okay. And this is why. Isaiah 1, verse 2. My people, Israel, have rebelled against me. They're not keeping Sabbath. I threw that in. Verse 3. My people, Israel, do not know me. Because if they knew their Lord, their Savior, they would keep number 4. They would keep number 4. Because that's how special all 10 commandments are special to the Lord. Verse 4. My people have forsaken me, forgot who I am. Strangers will devour their land. Page 5. Isaiah 1:9. Yahweh shall save a remnant, or we would end up like Sodom and Gomorrah, who were utterly destroyed. Sodom and Gomorrah, once Lot left, and his wife and 2 children, once they left, Sodom and Gomorrah were utterly destroyed. No remnant, no survivors, okay? And here he's saying in Isaiah 1:9 that this future vision he has, unless God saves a remnant worldwide, the whole earth would be like Sodom and Gomorrah. Verse 10, Isaiah calls out the leaders of Israel and calls them Sodomites. Would God call many leaders, whether they be CEOs, company presidents, over institutions in the United States, like maybe Department of Defense, Department of Education, Department of this, Department of that, or congressmen, senators, or whatever, would he call them Sodomites? I think some of them, God will call them Sodomites, you know. Verse 11:15, Isaiah 1, verse 11:15. Do not come into my courts, and I say the church today, and trample on my word. God hates going against his word. When you spread your hands, lift your hands in church, it says, I, Yahweh, look the other way. Proverbs 28:9 says, if you disobey Torah, I will not hear your prayer. I will not hear your prayer. So I used to raise my hand in church because I love the Lord. But I'd say maybe at one time he wasn't hearing my prayer. I was praying prayers. Maybe he answered a few of them, but maybe he didn't answer all of them because I wasn't obeying the Torah. But today, I feel like I've had a vision, kind of like A.A. Allen, kind of like Isaiah. I'm going to do the Torah. I'm going to do it. And I love the Ten Commandments. When you lift your hands in church, I just pray that he doesn't look the other way, that you're doing the Torah. Verse 16 to 18, repent of your sin. Verse 19, if you obey, you will eat the best in the land. If you disobey, you shall die by the sword. All your motives center about money. I will inflict you blow after blow and remove you and your sin. Then he says in verse 26, I will restore judges, and Jerusalem shall be restored and redeemed. Verse 27 to 31, all sin is burned in a great fire. So that's how I kind of started it, was that I think God's going to burn America with fire. And someone said they saw on the internet where there were a bunch of fires already happening all across the United States. These little fires, but several states with little fires, But is there a great fire coming? And verse 27, 31, all sin is burned in the great fire. We'll go to the Brit Hadashah on page 7. This is in Acts, and Saul, who was on the road to Damascus. What was he on the road to Damascus to do? Kill Christians. He was plotting how he can kill as many Christians as he could. He stood and watched them as they stoned Stephen, who was only praising the Lord and telling the people how good the Lord was, and he stood there and watched them kill him. So on the way, it's Acts 9, 1 to 21. Yahweh gives Paul a vision. That the word is shazon. On the road to Damascus to kill new Christians that's what he was doing, to kill that belonged to the way. It was a vision. Start doing the Torah, not man-made tradition. That's what he was all about, was man-made tradition. Then the Apostle Paul becomes a Torah-observant Jew who believes in Yeshua. That's who he became. And then Paul did Torah all his life and told his disciples like Timothy and others to do the Torah. Do Torah like I do. And then in 1 Timothy 3, it talks about a man of God, so it's a bishop, a teacher, a minister, elder, deacon. His morals should line up with what the Bible teaches. So, and then in Galatians, Paul even compares striving over theology as witchcraft, idolatry, and jealousy. So, we've been pretty much teaching the same thing for 10 years. So if you disagree with what I teach, there's nothing wrong with that. Come talk to me about it, but don't talk about it in the fellowship here, because that's striving over theology. And there are two reasons we ask you to leave. One, striving over theology, and one is immorality. And if you divorce over irreconcilable differences, that is a sin. That's not a biblical definition of divorce. It's not. Irreconcilable differences is not biblical. So you're practicing immorality if that's what you put in the divorce papers, or if that's what you claim. On page 9, this is real special. He goes by Rabbi. His name's Ralph Messer. I think he's out on the West Coast somewhere, or Colorado somewhere. I'm going to read what he posted here a couple years ago on page 9. You, talking about you, are the first generation in 3,500 years to start doing the Torah with the revelation of Yeshua, the Messiah. The Jewish people know Torah, but are blind, in part to the Messiah is. Christians know the Messiah, but many have been blind to the understanding of doing the Torah. Your entrance into and understanding the Torah that was preordained by God for such a time as this is special. God promised to gather together and prepare the children of Israel for the land of promise while still living amongst the nations. He fully intended that you know and understand your benefits as a citizen of the Commonwealth of Israel. That's how you qualify to cross the Jordan to the promised land in a Sabbath age of 1,000 years, because you're doing the Torah the best you know how, and you believe in the Messiah. You will not need to take the land by force as your forefathers did. Everything will culminate with this last generation of Devarim, or Deuteronomy. For this generation will know the words of exile as well as the words of restoration. You will know that you are the people that God rescued from the sword, were taken captive from captivity, and have become a nation drawn out of the nations. It is through the possession of the promised land and following the Torah, God's teaching instruction, that your unique role in the world will establish God's kingdom on the earth. That's a pretty high calling, I think. If we can take some with us, that'd be great, because I'm getting a little older, and we need to take some young people with us. So hopefully they'll come in and start filling these seats here soon. Then, but this is what I want to read to you from Lamentations. This is what's about to happen if God destroys the temple. Where's the temple today? Right here. So if God destroyed Solomon's temple and God destroyed Herod's temple because they weren't doing the Torah, they claimed to do the Torah, but they weren't doing it. And even Yeshua rebuked them. So he said, you're not doing the Torah. He rebuked them. You're just doing it for show and all this. So they always read the book of Lamentations this is read on the 9th of Av, and so that's why we're talking about it today. The 9th of Av is coming up when? Here in just a couple days, right? Maybe I've probably got a slide on it when it is. It says, this is what's about to happen if God pours out his wrath on, called Jacob's trouble. Your great nation has become a widow. Your friends are gone. Your captivity has come. Your enemy is now your head. Your enemy is no longer the tail. Your comforter is gone. Your food is expensive and scarce. Your rebellious nature is exposed. So he's talking to the rebellious, right? Not to us, but that's why this is read in Lamentation. Yahweh has destroyed Israel and most of you. Yahweh has destroyed the churches. Your pastors have preached vanity and foolishness. Your pastors have not uncovered your sin. Yahweh has fulfilled his promise to uncover your sin. Yahweh has fulfilled his promise to destroy your sin. When you cry out in prayer, Yahweh does not hear your prayers. Your hope is lost. Only by Yahweh's mercy are you not consumed. Yahweh is good to the one that learns his ways. A good man or woman will stay silent during judgment. Do not blame or get angry with God. Do not say that Yahweh did these bad things. He doesn't do. God, our God is a just God. Whatever he does is for our good. It's always that way. So we'll go to slides. A few quick announcements. Money. Try to get out of debt if you can. I know it's hard sometimes. Things unexpected happen. But the reason you want to do it is so you can get paid back double or 7 times. That would be a huge blessing. I could use a blessing like that. And I've received blessings like that. AFAP, that's as fast as possible. That's what that means, as fast as possible. Most people carry around credit cards. I got 2 on me right now. I pay them off every month. I don't charge so much I cannot pay them off. You can't live like that. You can't, if you don't pay your credit card off every month, you can't live like that. You're a slave to the lender. You can't live like that. So you have to budget different. You have to learn to live within your means, okay? Now, it might mean giving up Dish TV, I mean, we got the cheapest plan on Dish, the cheapest. Everybody I know has got the most expensive, okay? We pay back double. Eat kosher. Apostle Paul assembled. He used to read his travels. He always assembled on the Sabbath.